I'm 71 years old, and I'm sitting in a house that's completely paid off. No mortgage, no debt, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a 2-car garage, and a backyard. I built a deck on myself, did it all with these hands. And I need you to understand something that might make you uncomfortable. This house is the loneliest place I've ever been. My name's Gary. I was an electrician for 46 years, started as an apprentice at 19, got my journeyman's card at 23, and by 30 I was running crews on commercial jobs all over the state. I was good. I was damn good. And I worked. Lord, did I work. 60-hour weeks were normal. 70 wasn't unusual. There were stretches, big projects, tight deadlines, where I'd leave the house before my kids woke up and come home after they were asleep. For weeks at a time, I told myself I was doing it for them. I told myself that's what a man does. He provides. He sacrifices. He puts food on the table and keeps the lights on, which, given my profession, I always thought was kind of poetic. My father worked himself to the bone in a factory so I could have opportunities he never had. His father did the same. It's what men in my family did. It's what I thought love looked like. You work hard. You don't complain. You provide. And when your kids grow up and have good lives, that's your reward. That's when it all pays off. Here's the thing nobody tells you. It doesn't pay off, not the way you think. I remember the exact moment I knew something was wrong. It was Thanksgiving 2019. My daughter Sarah was 34. My son Michael was 31. Both doing well. Sarah's a marketing director in Chicago. Michael's an engineer in Seattle. Good jobs, good salaries. The kind of careers I dreamed about for them when I was crawling through attics in August, heat-pulling wire. They both came home for Thanksgiving. First time in 3 years, we were all in the same room, and I was so proud. Sitting at the head of the table, looking at my kids, thinking I did this. All those hours, all those missed dinners, this is what it was for. Then I noticed something. They were talking to each other, laughing about some show they both watched, making references I didn't understand. And when I tried to join in, there was this pause, this polite pause, where they'd explain the joke and then kind of move on. Like I was a guest at my own table. Like they were being nice to their mother's husband. I watched my wife Linda interact with them, and it was completely different. Inside jokes, shared memories. Remember when Mom did this? Remember that time Mom said that? And I realized they have a relationship with her, a real one. With me they have respect, obligation, gratitude maybe, but not closeness. I excused myself, said I was checking on the turkey, stood in the kitchen with my hands on the counter, and I felt something crack open in my chest that I'd been keeping sealed shut for a long time. My kids don't really know me, and I don't really know them. Let me tell you about the lies I believed. I believed that providing for my family was the same as being there for my family. It's not. I believed that sacrificing my time was a gift I was giving them. It wasn't. It was a gift I was giving myself, because working was easier than being present. Working had clear rules. Wire this, connect that, get paid. Being a father, being a husband, that's messy. That's emotional. That's hard in ways that don't have solutions. I was hiding in my work, and I called it sacrifice. I believed my kids would understand when they were older, that they'd look back and say, Dad worked so hard for us. They do say that. You know what else they say? Dad was never around. Both things are true, and the second one is the one that shaped who they are. I believed that money and security were what my family needed most. They needed me. They needed me at those soccer games I missed. Sarah played for 6 years. I went to maybe 10 games total, always had a job running late, an emergency call, overtime I couldn't turn down. They needed me at the school plays. Michael was in every single production from 5th grade through high school. I saw two. He was the lead in our town his junior year. I was in a factory in Toledo running conduit. They needed me at dinner, not once a week, every night. To hear about their days, their friends, their fears, their small victories that didn't seem important then, but were everything. They needed a father who was present, and I gave them a father who was a good provider. It's not the same thing. I want to tell you about a guy I worked with, Danny Kowalczyk. Same age as me, same trade, worked the same jobs. Danny was good, but he wasn't hungry like I was. He'd turn down overtime, leave at 5 o'clock. The guys used to give him a hard time about it. I remember once we had a huge job, hospital renovation, great money, 6 weeks of 70-hour weeks. Danny said no, said his daughter had a dance recital and his son was starting Little League. I thought he was soft, thought he didn't have what it takes. Danny retired 5 years before I did. You know what his retirement party was like? His kids flew in from all over the country. His grandkids made him a scrapbook. They cried. They gave speeches. They talked about camping trips and Sunday dinners and how Dad was always there. Danny's house is smaller than mine. He's got less in his retirement account, and he's the richest man I know. He shows me pictures of his grandchildren on his phone. They FaceTime him every week. His kids call just to talk, not because they need something, just because they want to hear his voice. I would trade everything I have for that. Everything. My son Michael called me last month. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I'd been sitting in the living room watching the clock, something I do now. When you're retired, time moves different, slower. You notice the silence more. The phone rang and I saw his name and my heart actually jumped. That's what it's come to. My own son calling is an event. We talked for 12 minutes. I know because I looked at the call log afterward. He asked about my health. I asked about his job. We talked about the weather in Seattle. There were long pauses where neither of us knew what to say, and I realized we don't know how to talk to each other. We never learned. When he was a boy and wanted to tell me about his day, I was too tired. When he was a teenager and needed guidance, I was on a job site. When he was in college and probably could have used his father's advice, I figured he had it handled. I never built the bridge. And now there's this gap between us, and we're both just standing on opposite sides making small talk across the void. He said, "Love you, Dad," at the end. The way you say it to someone because you're supposed to. I said it back, and I meant it. I meant it with everything in me. But meaning it isn't the same as having shown it. Sarah sends me photos of her life sometimes, her apartment in Chicago, her boyfriend, restaurants she likes. I look at those photos and I think, I don't know this person. She's my daughter. I was in the room when she was born. I held her when she was 6 pounds and screaming, and I swore I would do anything for her. Anything. And then I went back to work. She grew up in the gaps between my jobs. I'd surface occasionally, a birthday here, a holiday there, like some visiting uncle who showed up with gifts and good intentions but didn't know the details of her life. Who was her best friend in 4th grade? I don't know. What was she afraid of when she was 12? I don't know. When did she have her first heartbreak? I don't know. Her mother knows. Linda was there for all of it. I was providing. I want to tell you about the morning I knew I had made a terrible mistake. It was 2005. I was 51. I just finished a massive project. 3 months of brutal hours. Huge paycheck. Biggest job of my career. I came home that Saturday morning exhausted but proud. Walked in the door expecting, I don't know, some kind of recognition, a hero's welcome. The house was quiet. Linda was at the grocery store. Sarah was at a friend's house. Michael was in his room. I went upstairs to say hi to him. He was 16, headphones on, doing homework. I stood in his doorway and he didn't even look up, just gave me a little wave and went back to his books. And I realized my being home wasn't an event for him, because I was never home enough for my presence to matter. I stood there looking at this boy, almost a man, and I thought, who is he? What music does he listen to? What does he want to be? What keeps him up at night? I didn't know. I was a stranger in my own home, and I'd worked myself into that position voluntarily. That night I sat in the garage, in the dark, and I cried. Then I got up Monday morning and went back to work, because that's what I knew how to do. That's where I felt competent. That's where I wasn't confronted with everything I'd gotten wrong. Work was my escape, and I escaped right out of my children's lives. Here's what I need you to hear. If you're working 60, 70 hours a week and telling yourself it's for your family, stop. Just stop. Your family doesn't need the bigger house. Your kids don't need the nicer car. Your spouse doesn't need the vacation you're saving up for. They need you. They need you there, present, attentive, interested. They need you to know the names of their friends. They need you to sit through the boring parts of their recitals. They need you to be the one who drives them to practice, not because it's convenient, but because that's 20 minutes in the car where they might tell you something real. They need you at dinner asking about their day and actually listening to the answer. They need your time more than they will ever need your money. And time is the one thing you can't get back. I'm 71 years old. I've been retired for 6 years. I have more time now than I know what to do with. I sit in this house, this beautiful paid-off house, and I wait. I wait for the phone to ring. It doesn't ring much. I wait for visits. They come twice a year if I'm lucky. I wait for my grandchildren to want to know me. But they don't really. I'm the old man they see at Christmas. Nice enough. Gives good presents, but not the grandfather who's part of their lives. That's not their fault. That's not even my kids' fault. That's the harvest from seeds I planted decades ago. You reap what you sow. I sowed absence. I'm reaping loneliness. I talk to Linda about it sometimes. She's been patient with me, more patient than I deserve. She tells me it's not too late. She says I could call more, reach out, try to build something now. And she's right. I could. I should. I do sometimes. But here's the thing about relationships. They're built in thousands of small moments over years and years. You can't manufacture that closeness in your 70s. You can't cram for the final exam of fatherhood. The foundation is either there or it isn't. Mine has cracks in it, big ones. Cracks I put there, one missed game at a time, one late night at a time, one daddy has to work at a time. I'm trying to repair it now. But some things, once broken, never quite fit back together right. Here's my advice to you. The thing I wish someone had grabbed me by the collar and screamed at me when I was 35. Stop chasing the promotion. Stop volunteering for overtime. Stop believing that more money equals more love. Go home. Go to the soccer game, every single one. Go to the school play, even if it's bad. Especially if it's bad. Be there for dinner, not checking your phone, not thinking about work, actually there. Ask your kids questions and listen, really listen, to the answers. Let the dishes wait and sit on the floor and play with them. Get down on their level, enter their world. Tell them you love them with your time, not just your words. Because the words don't mean anything if you're never there to say them. And here's the hardest part. Your boss won't thank you. Your coworkers might think you're not committed. Your bank account might grow slower. But your children will know you. And when you're 71, sitting in a quiet house, that's the only thing that's going to matter. Last week I was going through boxes in the garage, found an old calendar from 1998. I used it to keep detailed work logs, every job, every hour. I flipped through it and the pages were full of work, full of providing. I found one entry, May 14th, that just said, Sarah Piano Recital, 6 p.m. It was crossed out. I don't remember why. Probably a job ran late. Probably overtime I couldn't pass up. Probably seemed important at the time. My daughter is 40 years old now. I don't remember a single one of those jobs. Couldn't tell you the client, the location, the scope of work. But I remember that I missed her recital. And somewhere Sarah remembers too. That's what stays. Not the paychecks, not the projects, the absences, the empty chair that should have had Dad in it. I'm not asking for your pity. I made my choices. I lived with them. I'm living with them now. I'm asking you to make different ones. If your kid is calling for you from the other room, go. Whatever you're doing can wait. If your spouse wants to talk, close the laptop. The email isn't urgent. If there's a game, a concert, a play, a ceremony, be there. Be there even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient, because that's what love looks like. Not a paycheck, not a paid-off house, not things, presents, being there. I call my kids every Sunday now, Michael in Seattle, Sarah in Chicago. The conversations are still awkward, still have those long pauses, but I'm trying. At 71, I'm finally trying. Last week I asked Michael about something other than work. Asked him about a hiking trip he'd mentioned. He sounded surprised. Talked for 10 minutes about trails and gear and views. 10 minutes of genuine conversation with my son. It's not much, but it's something. I'm trying to build in my 70s what I should have built in my 30s. It's slow, it's hard, and it might be too little, too late. But I'm not going to spend whatever time I have left sitting in this house, waiting. The house is quiet tonight. Linda's asleep. I'm sitting on that deck I built, looking at stars. I think about the legacy I'm leaving. I thought it would be financial security, college funds, a paid-off house for my kids to inherit someday. Now I know the only legacy that matters is this. Did your children know you? Did they feel loved by you? Will they carry your voice in their heads, guiding them, comforting them long after you're gone? I don't know if mine will. I hope so. I'm trying to give them something to remember, some version of their father besides the one who was never home. If you're watching this and you've got kids at home, do me a favor. When this video ends, put down your phone. Go find them. If they're asleep, just look at them for a minute. If they're awake, ask them about their day. Actually listen. And if there's something on your calendar that matters to them, a game, a recital, a school thing you were thinking about skipping, don't skip it. Be there. That's all they want. That's all any of us want. Someone who shows up, someone who's there. Don't wait until you're 71 to figure that out. Don't end up like me, with a beautiful house and an empty heart. The overtime will always be there. The promotions will always be there. The money will always be there. Your kid's childhood won't. It ends faster than you can imagine, and when it's over, you don't get a second chance. I'm Gary. I'm 71 years old. I was a good provider. I wish I'd been a good father instead. It's the only regret that matters. If this reached you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's working too much. Someone who's missing too much. And if you've got a story like mine, a regret, a lesson, something you learned the hard way, put it in the comments. Maybe we can keep each other honest. Thanks for listening to an old man who finally figured out what matters. Now go be there for the people who need you. They're waiting.